This video is brought to you by Raycon. Hey Wisecrack, Michael again. Let me ask you something. What's the first thing that pops into your head when you see this little critter? If the answer is, I must smother this thing to death with my infinite affection, then you are one of the millions who have fallen happily under the sway of Baby Yoda, the greatest big-eared character ever produced by Disney. Baby Yoda owns the internet. He's racked up an obscene number of pre-orders for a plushie toy that won't even be available until April, and multiple fans have already offered to give up their lives for the fictional character. But what is it about Baby Yoda, and cute things in general, that makes us go so crazy?
I'm going to look after you until the Mandalorian gets back.
You might be thinking, it's because of our biology, stupid, but that's only part of the answer. What is really going through our heads and our hearts when we feel the urge to fawn over something cute? Why is your dog's Instagram account more popular than your own? And above all, is there something sinister about our uncontrollable joy in watching Baby Yoda sipping on that itty-bitty cup of soup? For that answer and more, let's enjoy the internet's favorite pastime of ruthlessly deconstructing the things we love in this Wisecrack edition on the Dark Side of Cuteness. But before we get into it, I want to give a shout out to Raycon. Raycon sells wireless earbuds for all your music or podcast listening needs. There's nothing worse than being tied down to your phone by a cord when you're working out or doing chores around the house. I hate when the cord gets tangled or caught on something and yanks the earbuds out of my ears. Kind of painful. With Raycon earbuds, it's so easy to just pop them out of their charging case and go. They are discreet and comfortable to wear for long periods of time. The earbuds come with different rubber tip sizes, so they will always fit perfectly in your ears. The best part is that Raycon earbuds start at about half the price of any other premium brand on the market, and they sound just as great. Their latest model, the E25, is their best yet, with 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing, more bass, and a compact design that gives you a nice noise isolating fit. So get your own pair of Raycon earbuds today. Click the link in the description and you can get 15% off your order. Now, back to the show. By now, we all know, or at least suspect, that Disney has hijacked our brains. That the massive media conglomerate has employed subtle, devious insights into human psychology to grab our attention and shape our preferences. Our obsession with Baby Yoda and other cute things in general has its roots in the very building blocks of human behavior. Many a hot take has pointed out that Baby Yoda, with his soft, tiny body, stubby limbs, and ginormous eyes, ticks all the boxes in what ethologist Konrad Lorenz first called Kindchenschema, or baby schema. That set of physical features that makes us lose our minds at the sight of anything remotely resembling a human infant. But there's more to cuteness than biological imperative. Cuteness is also a product of culture, one that only really developed in the past century. In her article, The Cuteness of the Avant-Garde, literary critic C.N. Nye explains that the idea of cuteness, as we know it today, owes a lot to 20th century toy manufacturing. Specifically, the shift from toys made of wood and metal to ones made of squishier, less breakable materials. This change only came about, according to Nye, as the result of early 20th century insights into the psychology of children, specifically their potential for aggression and even cruelty. At the time, this was a big shift from the long-standing belief that children were inherently good, innocent creatures, which had been popular since the notion of childhood first developed in the early modern period. For a good chunk of Western history, younger and older people weren't subdivided into the categories of child and adult. They were just folks of different ages and sizes, all with roughly the same set of expectations placed on them. French historian Philippe Aries, for instance, found that artwork from the Middle Ages tends to depict children not as a distinct class of people, but as miniature adults, and all the horror that implies. The following few centuries saw the development of childhood, a special time set aside for pure, innocent young people to learn about the world before they would be called on to participate in it as adults. With this new category of persons, that is, children, came an increased demand for products that they could enjoy and benefit from, i.e. toys, manufactured on a massive scale. Again, during the 19th century, many of these toys were made of hard materials like wood or porcelain. Over the course of the 20th century, Sigmund Freud and other psychologists gradually discovered that the inner lives of children can be far more aggressive and violent than they were previously given credit for, which in turn affected the design of the objects created specifically for them. As Nye puts it, once children were no longer imagined as miniature adults or as naturally moral or virtuous creatures, manufacturers found new impetus to produce indestructible toys that could survive the violence with which children were increasingly associated. In light of such findings, it only made good business sense to make toys more pliable. The China doll, popular in the 19th century, isn't likely to survive being thrown across a room. But 20th century inventions like the sock monkey, the teddy bear, and the inexplicably popular Betsy Wetsy, it pees when you pour water down its throat,
Betsy Wet drinks and wets and cries and frets,
were made of more durable fabrics and plastics that could withstand the occasional malicious head dropping. A side effect of all these manufacturing changes was that by the latter half of the 20th century, Americans were increasingly exposed to a growing number of household objects with features we find adorable in children. In other words, an increasing prevalence of Kinshinshima in American life can be tied back to our efforts to deal with our monstrous kiddos. Of course, tactile qualities aren't the only thing we think of as cute. As Nye points out, cuteness is also identified with a twittering use or style of language. Think of Baby Yoda chirping as he toddles along behind Mando. Or Pikachu saying literally nothing but his own name. Or since Disney can't seem to control itself, Babu Frick as he goes about Babu fricking in C-3PO's head. And cuteness goes beyond the particular traits of the cute object. Nye argues that properties we associate with cuteness, things like smallness, softness, or simplicity, are closely connected to certain related affects, in particular, helplessness, pitifulness, and even despondency. Sounds harsh, but examples of sadness magnifying perceived cuteness aren't too hard to come by. Think of Puss in Boots' wide, teary eyes in Shrek, or Blanky crying over his master's portrait in Brave Little Toaster. Picture the poor little robot Wall-E who just wants to hold his girlfriend's hand, or Dumbo's enormous ears folding tragically in reaction to a cruel, malevolent circus. While we're on the subject, you can start Googling right now and find a toy line whose entire selling proposition is squeeze this baby until it cries. To put it bluntly, we find things cutest when they are most miserable. Caregiving impulses aside, there is something a bit sinister about the way we relate to things, animals, or people we label cute. Why, for instance, do many otherwise reasonable people feel a sudden urge to crush or even bite when in the presence of children or animals?
I'm gonna take his fuzzy little perfect head, I wanna put it in my mouth and squeeze down on it hard until I have a puppy-faced diamond in my mouth.
Neurological research into what is called cute aggression explains why some parents feel the need to nibble their baby's feet and legs like a big spicy rack of ribs. UC Riverside psychologist Catherine Stavropoulos has found that people who feel cute aggression experience high levels of activity in both the brain's emotional processing centers and reward systems when they are exposed to cute things. She theorizes that the unexpected aggression might be the brain's way of preventing emotional overwhelm by counterbalancing all the positive gooey feelings with some negative ones. In other words, even in the presence of a French bulldog puppy, your brain prevents you from being incapacitated by joy by slipping you the occasional urge to nosh on the little fella. Handy. And Stavropoulos isn't the only one to notice this unexpected link between cuteness and aggressive impulses. In his article, Cuteness, cultural critic Daniel Harris denounces everything from Cabbage Patch Dolls to E.T. as examples of a seductive and manipulative aesthetic that appeals as much to a desire for control as it does to any hardwired caregiving instinct. Harris observes that we tend to find something cute because of a quality it lacks, a certain neediness and inability to stand alone, as if it were an indignant starveling, lonely and rejected. Like Nye, who references him throughout her article, Harris notices that cuteness is about more than just Kinshinshima. Big eyes and a large forehead alone are not enough to qualify something as cute.
Oh, aren't you just the cutest, most terrifying thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
In order for an object to be perceived as truly cute, it must also appear to be dependent on us for survival, totally subject to our whims. As Harris puts it, cuteness is not something we find in our children, but something we do to them. Because it aestheticizes unhappiness, helplessness, and deformity, it almost always involves an act of sadism on the part of its creator, who makes an unconscious attempt to maim, hobble, and embarrass the thing it seeks to idolize. Less provocatively, Nye points out that it is crucial to cuteness that its diminutive object has some sort of imposed upon aspect. Look at Baby Yoda. The puppet is designed with a slight downward turn to the lips, so that he often seems just on the verge of shedding tears. And it's hard to escape the fact that the best Baby Yoda memes involve him struggling to accomplish basic tasks, or looking sad over a small injustice the world has dealt him. And sure, He occasionally wields his incredible force powers to save the day, but then he immediately goes comatose in just the gosh darn cutest way imaginable. Indeed, many of the things we identify as cute seem to get cuter when they have this imposed upon look that Nye is talking about. Picture, for instance, the pout of a little kid who's just dropped their ice cream cone. Heck, there are whole subsections of YouTube dedicated to gathering footage of unhappy cute things. You've got your guilty dogs compilations, your cats freaked out by cucumbers, the invisible challenge that pits animals against sheets of plastic wrap, dogs that hate bats, and of course, kids in trouble. According to Harris, we look at things like Baby Yoda with a transformative gaze that will stop at nothing to appease its hunger for expressing pity and big-heartedness, even at the expense of mutilating the object of its affections. Yikes. Now, this could all just be Harris publicly declaring his beef with the Care Bear franchise. But in addition to Stavropoulos' study of cute aggression cited above, there is also historical evidence to suggest that cuteness and malice are more intertwined than we might care to admit. Nye points out that while the concept of cuteness took a while to develop in the United States, it exploded in Japan in the years following World War II. According to Nye, this Japanese culture of cuteness, or kawaii, grew out of the nation's experience of defeat and demilitarization. As she puts it, there are historical reasons, in other words, for why an aesthetic organized around a small, helpless, or deformed object that foregrounds the violence in its production as such might seem more ideologically meaningful in the culture of one nation than in that of the other. This is a very academic way of making a simple point, that cute objects, which through their design call attention to the fact that they are made to be crushed, poked, fondled, etc., might be more meaningful to people who have an experience of being crushed themselves. In post-World War II Japan, this resulted in kawaii spilling out from toy production into every other section of the economy, from automobile manufacturing to public works projects. You thought your state bird was cool? Well, right off. In Japan, each prefecture gets its own freaking mascot. Suck it, Western metal art. Some of the more popular products of kawaii culture are familiar even here in the US. Anyone who went to elementary school in the 90s will remember the truckloads of Hello Kitty folders, pencil cases, and lunchboxes that flooded our classrooms at the time. And of course, there's the electric marketing monstrosity himself. But Nye also highlights a few kawaii things that make the connection between cuteness and suffering more transparent. Probably the most heartbreaking of these is kojipan, a burnt roll of bread prone to existential dilemmas and fits of depression. Sort of a Japanese Eeyore. Over the years, things with a kawaii or cute sensibility, that is, objects that make us conscious of our power to control them emotionally or physically, have proven very sellable. According to Harris, that's exactly the point. Harris believes that cuteness is the stuff of marketing dreams. He claims that advertisers have learned consumers will adopt products that create, often in their packaging alone, an aura of motherlessness, ostracism, and melancholy, the silent desperation of the lost puppy dog clamoring to be defended, namely, to be bought. To put it another way, the more marketers can convince you that the plots of Toy Story 2 and The Brave Little Toaster are real, that objects have feelings, the more you will shell out to keep a non-sentient ball of stitched-together cotton and polyester from feeling abandoned. Or rather, the more you will pay to experience the feeling of rescuing something inferior. What we're buying, according to Harris, is the power to feel bigger and more powerful than whatever small object we acquire. But Mando's charge is safe from our passive-aggressively sadistic clutches, at least for the time being. In a rare miss, Disney has been caught completely off guard by the insane demand for Baby Yoda merchandise, with an official plush toy not scheduled for release until spring 2020. Not that that stopped a handful of intrepid marketers from taking creative liberties with product descriptions in a misguided bid to get consumers what they want. I'm so sorry for you if you bought one of these. Now, all that said, Baby Yoda is only a puppet, albeit the most adorable one ever captured on screen. It's probably fine not to interrogate our feelings around him too deeply. After all, even if there is an element of hostility to the way we project cuteness onto him, he isn't an actual child who could be emotionally harmed by our distortions. Still, when you find yourself groping for your credit card under an irresistible compulsion to mash that plushy pre-order button, it might be interesting to ask yourself, what do I really feel for you, Baby Yoda? Let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks to all our patrons for supporting our channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and before you go, I want to give one last shout out to Raycon. You can get 15% off your own earbud order today. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. Peace.